Heyo, welcome back to Thoughts and Opinions Are Our Own. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Kirk.
Kirk.
Yes.
It's been a long minute here. We took an accidental hiatus here from the pod. Our bad. So sorry. Lo siento.
Lo siento.
But we're back, ready than ever.
We think we have, since it's been a while since our previous pod, we think we have an extra long one today.
It's an extra special one, like a bonus DVD feature.
Bonus DVD feature. Last time, I think I asked you, the title was Sports Stories and Life Lessons, and I was asking you about
my
experiences, your background into athletics and sports, and how you got involved and what you've learned.
Yep.
So you think now we're going to reverse?
Let's roll reversal.
Roll reversal, all right?
You have a lot of high-quality sports stories
that
I've heard my whole life, and I think, in my own opinion, that the world needs to hear it.
All right.
And with that being said, let's get into it.
Let's start.
All right. So, Kirk, how'd you get started in sports? Let's take it way back to when you were born.
So about 50 years ago, almost, I was a little kid growing up in Michigan, Metro Detroit area.
Nice.
And my father, your grandfather, was a varsity tennis coach at a local high school. And I remember going and watching him coach. I remember watching his teams. He had a really good team. He won multiple state championships at the school. And it was fun. I remember being like in the van on van rides that he had like,
cool.
10, he was driving like 10 players and I'd sneak in there, whatever. I was 3 years old, 4 years old.
Away.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun watching my dad win. It was fun being a part of the game of tennis and just being a spectator and cheering on his team and, again, watching them be successful. So my mom then realized, okay, Kirk has an interest in the game of tennis because, his dad's, the coach there. So she actually, I think she was the one who got me my first racket. Mm-hmm. And I have memories of we were playing in our driveway at our house, hitting the ball back and forth. And there was a little crack in the driveway, I remember. And we pretended like that's where the net was.
Oh, clever.
Kind of, using our imagination, being creative. And so she and I would just like literally hit the ball back and forth.
That's awesome.
Over the crack. And I was learning how to make contact and, hand-eye coordination. Also, in that same driveway, we had, as a lot of, kids do growing up here in America and maybe throughout the world, we had so our garage had a roof there, and on the roof we had a basketball hoop, like a backboard and a rim, the net and everything. So when I wasn't hitting tennis balls in the driveway with my mom, I was like shooting free throws or, coming up with my own game.
Layups.
Doing layups.
Jump man.
Trying to work on my jump shot and dribbling. And so anyhow, that was one of my first experiences in athletics.
Didn't they put you in Little League next?
We did Little League. Yes, I did Little League baseball. I remember taking swimming lessons. And growing up in Metro Detroit, we were big Michigan football fans.
Sure.
110,000 going.
And then you played football a little bit.
So I played a little bit of football. So now we're in middle school. Yep, I played. I played basketball in 7th grade. I played football in 8th grade. And then I played tennis in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. So,
and quick, let's back it up. In 1984, you went to the World Series, correct?
So 1984, yes, as a fan, and again, as a Detroit fan, the Pistons, Red Wings, Lions, and Tigers. And so 1984, and this, as of this recording in 2022, this is the last time the Detroit Tigers they won the World Series. And so, so actually my family and I, we had the opportunity to go to, it was a Friday night, I remember, in October, and they were playing the San Diego Padres. And game one and game two were actually in San Diego, and then game 3, 4, and 5 were in Detroit.
Okay.
Game 3 was a Friday night in Detroit, and the Tigers won.
Oh, what a great memory!
Yes, in fact, I was like, wow. And we sat in the bleachers at the old Tiger Stadium, which no longer exists. Yeah,
it's okay. It's still American.
So I was 14 years old. Going to Tiger Stadium literally at the World Series, and like I said, then 2 days later they clinched it. So
that's awesome.
Very, very good memories of again playing sports as a kid.
Yeah,
being a sports fan. watching these other athletes, whether it was high school, college, or pro.
Yeah.
And I also remember watching sports on TV as a kid.
Mm-hmm. In the
And
70s.
in the 70s and 80s, and tennis again, with the tennis background with my dad. And so I'd watch Wimbledon and the US Open, and it was fun. It was fun watching the pros and see how they did. Bjorn Borg, and I remember John McEnroe, and I
oh
enjoyed,
wow, that's a blast from the past.
way back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, what a name.
So I remember going. I remember watching. Now it's called March Madness, but I remember watching college basketball.
That's such a fun time.
I remember watching college basketball as a kid, and I went to some Michigan basketball games at Chrysler Arena.
That's so cool.
And I remember watching, the players, obviously thinking that, oh my gosh, these guys are like so tall and so athletic and, quick, and they can shoot the ball and dunk the ball. And But then I also remember watching the coaches. And I said to myself, I remember as a kid, I watched the coaches, and again, Michigan, Michigan's in the Big Ten. So, Bobby Knight was a big coach back then at Indiana.
Wow.
Coach K was just starting out.
Coach
K was just starting out in Duke. Dean Smith was in North Carolina. But I remember watching these big names, and I remember thinking to myself, I saw them, clapping and cheering on their team and barking at their team. And I remember as a kid saying to myself, I can do that. I can be a coach. I can be on the sideline. I can have my team ready to play a basketball game.
And I think it helps too. You had an awesome coach in high school, right?
So for tennis, yes.
Yeah.
So for tennis at the school that I went to and graduated to, I played 4 years there. So we'll call him Coach D. Coach D.
Pro series.
He was also a teacher there at the high school.
Very similar to you and your father.
He taught sociology, and he was a young guy who was hip. He was very charismatic. He made tennis like the cool sport at our school. And some schools here in America, it's like football, basketball, baseball. But at our school at that time, again,
it's very different.
This is back in the 80s because he was a big personality in the school. And he made the tennis program like cool and hip.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I played all 4 years, but he made it fun for like other people who maybe didn't even know how to play tennis to get involved and to cheer us on. And we were good. Each year we ended up getting better at the state tournament. We qualified for the state tournament all 4 years. I think we ended up in seventh.
So he kind of created the student section before the student section.
He created a student section. Very good. And it was a family atmosphere. It was a very
I like that.
It was a family atmosphere, and he made it like, hey, people are going to be cheering you on. Let's make sure we're playing the right way. Let's make sure we're winning, and we're going to win with class. Because sometimes in tennis, sadly, it can be a little snooty, kind of snotty, kind of arrogant.
Yeah, I think we think of certain people, unfortunately, that come to mind.
So he wanted to make sure, yes, we're playing, we're going to be successful.
So he wanted to change,
but we're also going to win, and we're going to play with class. And so,
love that.
We ended up, my freshman year, we ended up in 7th place in the state tournament.
Wow.
Sophomore year, 6th.
Okay.
Junior year, 4th. Senior year, 3rd.
So you got better each year.
We improved each year. And what was really cool is my freshman year, there were a core group of us, maybe 4 or 5 freshmen.
Oh, that's
Most of us stuck it out as sophomores. We got, another, guy added sophomore year, and then another guy added junior year. So by the time
called the Dream Team.
The Dream Team, 1988 was when I graduated.
I love that. That's awesome.
So in the top 10, we had 10 like varsity players on the tennis team. 8 were seniors.
Wow.
And again, most of us were there from our freshman year. And it was really cool because I improved, I'd like to think, but I also saw my teammates improve.
Yeah.
And Rob was our best player. So he was, freshman year, he was the best freshman. Sophomore year, best sophomore. Junior year, best junior. Senior year, he played 1 singles.
Yeah.
So he was the best. You have 4 singles spots, and then you have like 3 double spots. You have 10 players in your team. So he was 1 singles junior year and senior year. And he ended up his senior year winning the state championship at 1 singles. And to this day, as of this recording in 2022, Rob is the only state champion for men's tennis at that high school.
So you literally watched history.
I watched history. I witnessed it, and I saw him. He was a good friend of mine. I saw him get better and better every year. And he lived near some tennis courts, and he took a lot of lessons. And that was kind of the joke. Like on a weekend, if you're going to hang out with your buddies, like, oh, where's Rob? Oh, he's probably taking lessons. and I've said this, and you've heard me say this, when we're teaching tennis to little kids or to the parents. tennis is a very honest sport.
Yeah.
It's because it's a skilled sport. You have to take lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And I learned that.
That is so deep.
That is deep. That is deep for a lot of things.
That is so true. Yeah. Definitely.
But the more you invest the time in taking lessons and putting into it, if you really are, are hungry enough to and committed enough, you're going to be good. And Rob did that. Rob was naturally gifted, but we all knew that he was taking more lessons than anybody else on the team. And so it was fun. It was fun watching him to win that state championship. And again, because I had a positive experience as my coach was, then I had an opportunity. Then 7 years later, 1995, I had an opportunity to be a varsity tennis coach.
Nice.
Here in Metro Detroit area. And so then my coaching. So I took that experience growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
Again, as an athlete, watching sports on television, participating again, baseball, football, basketball, tennis. Then I started my tennis coaching career in 1995 at a local private Catholic school. And I was there for 11 years. And then I kind of bounced around. My career's kind of bounced around a little bit, but it was a lot of fun. Then 3 years ago, I went back to my old high school.
Yeah.
And where I am now currently as a parapro. So I'm working. So during the day, I'm working with kids with special needs. But then I also had the opportunity to last 3 years now to be the freshman boys basketball coach.
Yeah.
And it's been fun. I take it very seriously.
Yes, you do.
And you're there on the sideline with me. You've seen me get excited, and
you're very enthusiastic, and you make sure the whole gym knows exactly what you're thinking. I don't know if that's like a new tactic, a new psychology thing, but it is cool. Like, and I do like to, whether it's tennis or basketball, mostly basketball. In tennis, like, you're playing outside.
Yes.
But for basketball, to get into the games, I try not to be snooty, but I like to flex who I'm related to, and I go, my father, the basketball coach, and then they're like, oh, come on in, Miss Boja.
Come on in. It's fun. Yeah. It's fun because you've helped me like take stats. You sit right, on the bench.
That is cool. Basketball. I mean, it just
moves very quickly.
Moves.
But I'd also like to think, you could probably agree that I think I probably coach the way I parent.
Yes, you do.
And so
those poor people. Oh man. I mean, I'm glad for once, like, the attention's on someone else.
They're gonna get.
But I know the look on their face, and then I feel for them, and I'm like, it's okay. Like,
you'll be better for it. Yes.
You'll be fine.
There's Jordan. There's a time for tough love, and whether it's parenting or coaching, and also, but I tell you, even just a few months ago, that season ended. I'm in the locker room, and we had a great year. And we played 20 games. We won 17. We were 17-3.
Wow.
And I could feel the emotions coming out, like leading up to that last game. And we won that last game. And we were in the locker room, and I had to say goodbye to that team. And I got emotional. I started like crying in front of them. They're just like looking at me. And I said, I love this team. I've loved this season. You've done exactly what I asked you to do. I've enjoyed, my time here with you guys. You guys have, you've come through for me time and time again. I'm so proud of this team. And so anyhow, I feel like I've been given this great opportunity through the athletics, especially now coaching with basketball and tennis, that, that God has given me these opportunities. He's opened doors. He's allowed me to go back to my old high school to give back. And so now it's just like I had memories of back in the 80s of being a student athlete. Now I have really good memories of being a parapro, but also now as a coach.
And you're a dual sport coach.
So now, just recently, just about a month ago, I had the opportunity, after the freshman boys basketball season was over in early March, the day after this season ends, I get a text from a friend of mine who I hadn't talked to in a while. And his name is Coach Mark. And he's like, hey, Kirk, I hope you're doing well. Hey, he goes, I have a opening at the school that he's teaching at, coaching tennis at, for girls varsity tennis. He said, I have an opening for JV. He's would you be interested? And I coached with him a long time ago, back in the late 90s for 1 year. He was a varsity coach, and I was a JV coach somewhere else. So I texted him back, and I said, yes, I am interested. And it was like, so we talked that weekend.
It paid off.
And it paid off and he told me going into it, he said, listen, you'll have whatever, 12, 13, 14 players in your JV team. He said, I'll have, 15, 16, whatever, varsity. But he said to me, he said, Kirk, he said, this could be a very special season for us. he said, and he's had success. He's won two state championships, there before, like 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He said, this team, he's like, Kirk, I have some really good tennis players. He's like, we have a chance to having a special season.
Wow. He already knew that.
He already knew that going in. He knew the talent level that he had. And he's been coaching, 27, 28 years at that school. So I went in, did the JV team. And then when our JV season was over, the last two weeks of the year, I helped him with his varsity. And he also had another assistant coach help him. But the varsity was ranked number 1 all season, and we ended up winning the state championship.
Wow.
And so it was fun.
What was that like?
So it was fun. It was very emotional because he knew, like, he had won 2 state championships before, but as he said, Kirk, that the previous 2 state championships that we won, he said we weren't ranked number 1. We were ranked number 2, number 3. So he kind of.
Oh, so you guys were ranked 1.
This year, he said, everybody's coming for us. They all know, like, we have a good team.
That's a lot of pressure.
We were ranked number 1, and so he was, he was a little, nervous going into it because there were high expectations.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But the team played so well.
Good for them.
And I had so much fun. And I got emotional at the end again. I'm I'm one of, 3 coaches, for this on the staff there. And I'm the JV coach. He's the varsity coach. But I was so excited for him and the players. Mm-hmm. But even taking the photos, like with the trophy, and it says MHS, Michigan High School Athletics. You're like, wow, this is like real. Like, this is happening.
Yeah.
Like, we're literally like making history, that's
amazing.
Making memories. And the girls were so excited. And the parents were there cheering us on. And so anyhow, it was fun. That was just about a month ago. And I look at those photos. The varsity team after the season ending banquet, they gave me a big picture and they signed it. And there we are. And we're holding each other. I'm like, wow, that's a really strong memory. And so again, as I've said, sports has been really good to me. It's been good to you. It's fun now teaching tennis with, teaching the kids. You and I just did that yesterday for 3 hours.
It's fun because, like, you can literally see kids grow. Like, they're physically growing, but then like their talent and their foundation is growing too. And you can see, I think you said, like, it all kind of comes together. It all starts to click, and you're like, wow, okay, like, this kid is a really good athlete. Like, you can just see it come through them. And
some kids have that natural hand-eye coordination or the competitiveness. They play their sports, they have it. Other kids, like, they have to work at it. They have to take lessons. And one thing, this is, I think, our 3rd summer now. Yeah. Teaching tennis together with the little kids there at the rec center and at the other place that we teach at. But when the kids come back, a year later, they're taller. Yeah. They're more experienced.
They're ready.
They know the games we're going to play. They know the drills.
They're already requesting games.
But it's also fun because I'm like, you know what? They're coming back. So clearly they're having fun. And the number 1, I believe right now, for a kid, 12 and under, whatever, playing a sport, they absolutely, number 1, have to have fun.
Oh, for sure.
If they're not having fun, they'll find something else to do.
Yeah.
That is,
they
fun,
will.
Basically. And so we really try to, I know you and I try to hype up the game of tennis as best we can. Mm-hmm. Now in the summertime, we're outside, it's hot. But we still try to have fun with them. And also challenge them. They have to get 10 balls, 12 balls over the net in the court. Yeah. We do competitions. We have,
but definitely take the pressure off.
We try to alleviate any nerves and
not make it snooty.
No, we're not. We're going to keep it real. And again, we're at a local rec center or rec and ed, program.
Very family oriented.
That we do. We have parents sitting right there by the fence, and they're watching us. And so, but it's fun. It's fun getting to see them, like you said, getting older, especially the kids that come back year after year. I think we've had a couple of kids that have been with us all 3 summers.
I think for me, I remember when you would teach me, I would take some of those classes. Yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, my dad is being my dad in front of everyone.
In front of 8 kids.
And like, I know the jokes. I'm like, like, this is how he is. And then I look around and everyone's like, is this guy serious? And they didn't know, like, we were related. So it's cool to like you taught me and now I'm teaching with you. So like, that was like that was a life lesson for me. Yes. And I'm sure for you, like, to be like, oh, I'm teaching my daughter this like family sport. Now she's teaching with me. Now we have like a repeat customer.
It is fun because
it's a full circle.
You're right. Because it started with your grandpa, my dad, and then your grandma, my mom. Again, with tennis, it's the family sport. Yeah. And so I appreciate you helping me. And I know your sisters too. They've, Selah has helped teach me lessons before.
And Aslan's helped out with basketball.
Aslan has helped out with basketball. She's come and been sitting on the bench with me and taking stats like you did this year. So it's fun that I can share, you know, and mom obviously comes and shares, you know, as a coach's wife. And so it's fun that I can share those experiences with the game of basketball, with the game of tennis, with you. That it's very important. And in American culture and obviously throughout the world with the Olympics, we've talked about that. I know soccer and swimming is important. You know, there are other sports that are international, but I know here in America, American culture, sports and athletics is so important.
Well, yeah, I mean, like March Madness, you've literally seen it, and like social media has helped that, and it's just like, wow, that's like a brand now, like that's a company now.
Like I said, I've been very blessed, you know, growing up here in Metro Detroit. Again, watching the professional athletes in Michigan, you know, with Michigan football, how successful they've been, and Michigan basketball, the Fab Five. I remember the Fab Five were here.
Wow.
And, you know, and in 1989, I remember watching Rumeal Robinson hitting free throws in overtime to beat.
Didn't you see Michael Jordan live?
Yes. Okay. Real quick story. Here we go. Michael Jordan. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michael Jordan. I think I've said this before. He is my all-time favorite athlete.
I mean, my name's Jordan.
Your name is Jordan for a reason.
Coincidence? I think not.
Your name is Jordan. But Michael Jordan, I remember, again, watching him in North Carolina. He was from Wilmington, North Carolina. Went to University of North Carolina.
Tar Heels, right?
Chapel Hill, yep. And he hit the game-winning shot as a freshman. I remember watching that game.
Wow.
True story. I remember I was in Pompano Beach, Florida, on spring break. And this is a true story.
You were on spring break watching Michael Jordan.
On television. And so
you're in Florida, and you're like, nah, man.
Spring break, it was the national championship game. It was a Monday night. And so, hey, it's time to watch NCAA championship. So he hits the game-winning shot against Georgetown in 1982, I believe.
Wow.
So then he left North Carolina early in 1984. The Chicago Bulls drafted him, and the Bulls were not very good at the time. But then he got there, they realized, wow, this guy.
So he changed the culture.
He changed the culture of the Chicago Bulls. So anyhow, again, growing up as a kid here in Metro Detroit, I knew who Michael Jordan was as a college athlete, then as a pro. And there was a big rivalry in the late '80s and early '90s with the Pistons and the Bulls.
The Bad Boys.
The Pistons were called the Bad Boys. Hey. And Isaiah Thomas, I loved Isaiah. Isaiah was from Chicago. Interesting story. Goes to the University of Indiana, plays for Bobby Knight, wins in 1981, I believe. Then gets drafted and was the captain here in Detroit for the Pistons. Anyhow, so I get an opportunity. This is 1991. This is like February or March of 1991. I get tickets to go to a home Pistons game at the Palace of Auburn Hills, which no longer exists.
R.I.P. It's now what? Little Caesars now?
Now Little Caesars Arena.
It's okay.
In downtown Detroit. So and I'm like, this is the Chicago Bulls. This is it. Like, this is the big rivalry. Like,
was it electric? Like,
yes,
did you feel it in the atmosphere?
Knew Michael Jordan at the time.
That is so cool.
Everybody knew in the building Michael Jordan's the best player on the planet.
Dude, that's awesome.
He had yet to win an NBA championship, though. So the Pistons.
Wow.
The Pistons and the Bulls.
It's little baby Michael Jordan.
He was. Okay, so the Pistons had knocked the Bulls out of the playoffs like in 1987, I believe, in 1988.
So they were bitter.
But the Bulls kept getting better and better and better.
Oh,
so the one series, it was like, whatever. It was like, the Pistons sweep them in 4 games. Mm-hmm. Then it was like, next year it was like in 6 games. Then the next year it was 7 games. And then it's 1991. So the Pistons have won the NBA championship in 1989 and 1990. Michael Jordan comes in. Again, this is February, March. It's a regular season game in the Palace in Auburn Hills. Close game, back and forth. I'm like, there's Michael Jordan, probably the greatest, in my mind, greatest of all time.
What was he like?
Great athlete.
Was he super tall?
6'6". You knew, every time
did he pass the ball?
Every time he touched the ball, he was looking to score. He's a good athlete. Obviously, if they double teamed him, he'd pass the ball.
Would they all give it to him?
Well, they looked for him, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes down to the last 30 seconds. The Bulls are up 1. Michael has the ball. They're passing around. Now it's 10 seconds to go. Pistons foul. They call timeout because Michael's on the free throw line. They try to ice him. They can't. Michael makes both free throws. Bulls are up 3.
Ooh, he's that good.
6 seconds to go. Pistons call timeout. They put up a 3 at the buzzer. It hits the rim and bounces off. Pistons lose by 3.
Cost them the game.
I'm looking at the court. I see Michael Jordan put his fist up on center court, and he sprints off the court.
Oh, he was feeling that.
He knew. Ooh. He's like, we got you this year. And Jordan,
wow, that's powerful.
I'm like, there you go. That was February, March. By May, they swept the Pistons.
Wow.
And in June, so 2 weeks later, he won his first NBA championship.
Oh
and,
my god!
And because of that, again, 1991, he wins in 1991, 1992, 1993, 1996, 1997, 1998. He wins 6 out of 8 NBA championships.
Wow.
So that's probably for another pod. But anyhow, thank you. But I remember watching Michael Jordan thinking this guy's probably the best basketball player who's ever played the game. And he's my all-time favorite athlete. And again, we could probably do another pod on Michael Jordan. But I love Michael Jordan. And to watch him, excel in college and then in the pros, and he didn't win right away. He had to
work for it.
He had to work for it, and he put the time in. And again, as
he hated to lose, right? Didn't you tell me?
He hated to lose. Yes, he had the natural athletic ability, 6'6". He was quick. He could dunk the ball. He could hang in the air and all that. Great defensive player. But everybody, I think most of his teammates and most of the coaches that he's played for, they all say he's very competitive. He's probably one of the most competitive people they've ever been around in, and he hates to lose in practice. And I know pro athletes kind of get, they're multimillionaires. They only turn it on for the games. Well, Michael Jordan hated to lose a drill, hated to lose like a 5-on-5 in practice, and he brought that to the Chicago Bulls. And because of that, I mean, they had a dynasty. And so
that's amazing.
Anyhow, sports has been so much fun. You learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
You learn about other people. You learn about, winners. And again, I've had a great opportunity. The game of tennis, the game of basketball has been very good to me. Again, growing up in Metro Detroit.
You have 4 different spheres almost. You watch what it was like to have a parent as a coach.
Yes.
And you're like, I might want to do that. Then you actually played.
Yes.
And you were a fan.
Yes.
And now you are coaching.
And an instructor. Yes.
That's so cool.
I've been, again, Jordan, I've said this before, I've been given a good life.
Yeah.
And I
bless up, bro.
Yeah. Again, God has given me a healthy body, an athletic body, a smart mind to figure things out. And it's a lot of fun to give back now. Again, as my dad, watching my dad be successful, I, as an athlete, try to be successful, but then as a coach and an instructor, and now, with you and your sisters,
Yeah,
and
that is fun.
To be part of the athletic process here in America. So there you go. I know that was a long,
that was a lot. We crammed in a lot. All right. Well, welcome back. Sorry for the long place, but like we said, life moves really fast around
it does move
here.
Fast.
Just, I don't know.
Hopefully,
one of these days.
Hopefully this is worth the wait.
Dude, I hope so. I mean, wow. Talk about, you're a quad athlete coach. I don't even know how to describe you, to be honest.
That was good what you said. You watched your father.
Yeah.
And you said, then you were an athlete.
Yeah.
Then you were a fan.
Yeah.
And now you're a coach instructor. So
and now, you're training me, basically.
And now, and then maybe, you could, teach your kids or whatever,
Oh, for sure.
Years down the line.
I swear, if they don't play sports, I might cry or something.
We'll get them involved somehow. So.
Yeah, that's for another
another
pod. But all right, thank you again. So sorry about the wait. We hope you enjoyed this, and I don't know, go out there, play some sports. Right now, the sun is shining.
There you go.
The birds are chirping. Just get involved in your local sport, local community. All right, bye.
Rock and roll.